Uh-huh.
What is your go-to exit strategy today?
Well, let's talk about like top 5 exit strategies that most people are doing in creative finance. Okay, so
Sure.
I lock up a deal, seller finance, subject to novation agreement, Morby method, whatever it is, whatever the deal is. I lock that deal up. I'm going number 1, wholesale. If I'm brand new, go wholesale your first 5 creative finance deals. Just go wholesale them. Find a buyer like me. Find the sub 2 community. Wholesale a deal to them. That's number 1. Number 2, when you're brand new and you want to start getting cash flow, you take that deal and you wrap it to an end buyer.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that mean? That means I'm going to take over the payments at, let's say, $1,000 a month, and I'm going to go find a buyer that's willing to pay me $1,400 a month. So I make the spread of $400 a month. And the great thing is if I wrap it, that person becomes the buyer and the owner of the property, and all I do is receive a $400 payment, $1,000 payment, whatever it is that you structure. I have no issue. I don't have to pay the taxes. I don't have to deal with tenants. I don't have to deal with toilets. I don't have to deal with any of that trash, right?
Right.
And so that's number 2. Number 3, and the downfall to selling a house on a wrap, guess what? You don't have ownership of that property.
Right.
But you do have cash flow. And so that's a great preferred method for newer people. Or I also say lazy people. People that are doing wraps, you're either brand new or you're lazy as shit. Okay? Because true wealth is not built by just getting cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? True wealth is by having your tenants crowdsource your retirement. And your tenants are paying down the mortgage. They're paying down all the interest and all that stuff. So number 3 was lease options for a while. That was my next phase, was lease options. Because lease options, what we found is that I'd buy a sub 2 deal or a seller finance deal, and I would turn around and sell it on a lease option. And a lease option, for anybody, I could do a whole episode on lease options, is both a lease and an option. So that means they're going to lease the property from me for about 5 years is what we would give the buyer. And they had 5 years to execute the option, which is 2 different contracts.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is when the market appreciated like crazy, all of my lease option buyers executed their options, and I no longer own those houses anymore.
Right.
So you then convert to exit strategy number 4, which is holding the property indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you end up doing is you divest and you go, okay, am I going to do Airbnb, Airbnb, long-term rental? Am I going to do corporate rental? Section 8. Now you've got a whole bunch of different exit strategies. But for me, I would say that 90% of what we do with creative finance now is hold it and put it in our portfolio. And the reason for that is because I get cash flow,
Mm-hmm.
I get appreciation, I get depreciations. I made a lot of money last year, made a lot of money the year before. I paid $0 in taxes, and I actually got a tax refund of $2,300.
Right.
A tax refund. After paying 0 income tax, I got a $2,300 tax return. Why is that? It's because of the tax benefits of actually owning property. And so meanwhile, all my friends are making millions of dollars flipping and wholesaling and, other things, owning title companies, and they're paying 40% of their money to the IRS. Meanwhile, I'm just buying more properties, right?
Yeah.
So holding properties is my main objective. And in the last year, I've really spent a lot more time in multifamily creative finance. So holding properties is my main exit strategy.
So one of the reasons why you like lease option was the fact that the tenant was eventually going to buy it and they cared more and you had to do a few repairs. So now.
Yep. And what I loved about lease options is we would average about a $7,500 lease option fee up front. So I'm like, damn, I got paid up front from somebody leasing my property. That was just a non-refundable $7,500 fee. And then the other reason why I loved lease options before the pandemic happened is that 80%, maybe even 90% of my lease option tenants never actually executed my option. And so I would have an inflated rent. I'd get $7,500 up front. And then at the end of my 5 years, they wouldn't renew. Or I'm sorry, they wouldn't execute the option. Yep. So I would not evict them, but I'd say, hey, we're not renewing the lease. And then we would just turn into a long-term rental. So I got $7,500 up front and a higher rate of rental. Because on a lease option, I'm not renting a property at the same price I would rent something just a traditional rental.